Iran's supreme leader killed in Israel-US attack. Grief and joy as Iranians react to the airstrikes. And Iran retaliates and sets several Middle East sites ablaze. Good evening and welcome to TVB News. Iran fired missiles at targets in Israel and Gulf Arab states Sunday after vowing massive retaliation for the killing of Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei by the United States and Israel Saturday, prompting U.S. President Donald Trump to threaten Tehran against further escalation. This as an enormous explosion rocked Iran's capital Sunday, as the Israeli military said it was targeting the heart of the city. Meanwhile, Trump called for the people of Iran to bring down the government, but analysts believe regime change will be difficult. Tracy Furness reports.
The US and Israel launched major attacks on Iran Saturday from land and at sea, which they called Operation Epic Fury. Trump saying they were targeting military capabilities and aiming to eliminate the threat of Tehran creating a nuclear weapon. These videos released by US Central Command. Black and white satellite footage of targets exploding once hit also released. US forces saying strikes focus on locations that pose an imminent threat, including Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps command and control facilities. Iran's state media announced that the country's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, was killed in one of these major attacks by Israel and the United States, calling the attack barbaric and the government's criminal. Strikes in southern Iran's Hormuzgan province also hit a girls' school, killing 115, Iranian state TV reports. The head of Iran's Revolutionary Guard and top security advisor to the late Supreme Leader also killed in the American-Israel airstrike, state media reports. IRNA news agency announced the death of Major General Mohammad Pakpour, who took over as the Guard's top commander after Israel killed its past commander in the 12-day June war. Also killed was Ali Shamkhani, a long-time figurehead with Iran's security establishment. Photos released by the White House show the US President and Vice President talking to CIA Director John Ratcliffe, Secretary of State Mark Rubio, and White House Chief of Staff Susie Wiles at Mar-a-Lago during Operation Epic Fury. Despite the US and Israel's attack and death of the Ayatollah, regime change in Iran is unlikely, according to analysts.
We've had 2 US air campaigns, one last summer saying that they want to end the Iranian nuclear program, which they haven't quite done, and now an air campaign that says that they want to effect regime change in Iran, where it's also uncertain whether they're going to manage that. But the result essentially is that it's beginning to look actually very dangerous to negotiate with the United States, because it seems that if the negotiation isn't going in the direction that the US wants, they might just bomb you. And I'm not sure that that's really a message that we want states around the world to internalize.
Tracy Furness, TVB News.
Massive rallies broke out in a slew of cities in Iran to denounce the killing of Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei. The government of Iran has announced a 40-day mourning period and a suspension of public institutions for 7 days. It stated the Iranian people would stand united to overcome this difficult time. Danny Zhou has the story.
Mourners dressed mostly in black assembled in thousands in the center of Tehran after state media confirmed the martyrdom of Khamenei early Sunday. People were seen bearing Iran's flags and holding posters of the late supreme leader who lost his life in a major US-Israel coordinated strike, voicing their anger and calling for retribution. Many screamed phrases such as "Death to America," "Death to Israel," with tears and fury. One of the mourners vowed the country will not lose the correct path and that they will stand more firmly than ever. In Mashhad, a key northeastern city in Iran tied to religious observances, grief filled the Shiite shrine of Imam Riza. A black flag was hoisted over its dome to embody the nation's resolve. Witnesses described emotional scenes with men, women and the elderly breaking down in anguish as the devastating news sank in. Demonstrations to ring out Khamenei's assassination also spread to Qum city, according to media reports. Meanwhile, displays of exuberance surfaced from cities including Tehran, Isfahan, Shiraz, Abdanan, and Kazvin. Crowds were seen cheering from the rooftops and balconies, in some cases dancing in the streets. Video footage circling on social media showed people blaring music and honking their car horns in Karaj late Saturday after the US and Israel declared Khamenei's death. This as many citizens viewed the tenure of the 86-year-old supreme leader as a period of repression and economic difficulty. Danny Zhou, TVB News.
Smoke was seen in the skyline of Dubai on Sunday morning after flights across the Middle East were disrupted and air defense fire thudded over the United Arab Emirates commercial capital. This as 4 people were hurt by falling debris from an Iranian missile at the entrance of a luxury hotel in Dubai Saturday. Iran's retaliation also led to explosions in a number of other Middle Eastern countries. Tracy Furness has more.
Police cars and firefighters were outside the Fairmont The Palm Hotel in Dubai Saturday night. The Dubai media office confirmed that 4 people were injured at the luxury hotel and had been transferred to medical facilities, adding that emergency response teams had been deployed immediately and that the site had been secured. A series of explosions were heard in Dubai Saturday as Iran continued firing missiles towards Gulf countries and Israel. Dubai International Airport, the largest in the United Arab Emirates and one of the busiest in the world, remained shut down into Saturday as the Emirates condemned what it called a blatant attack involving Iranian ballistic missiles. On Sunday morning, smoke trails were seen on Dubai skyline. In the sky, interceptions as air defense fire thudded over the UAE capital. Interceptions too over Tel Aviv as constant rocket salvos from Iran continued also in Jerusalem and other areas. These were counterattacks to US and Israel strikes on Iran. Tehran fired drones and missiles at Israel and aimed strikes at US military installations in Bahrain, Kuwait and Qatar.
I'm at the site of a missile strike in Tel Aviv, and you can see behind me here, there's actually a big crater in the ground where the missile hit, and the building behind me is absolutely destroyed. This entire area is completely massively hit. You can see the first responders, they are trying to help the wounded. There are dozens of wounded here, but there's also someone who was killed, they say.
In Bahrain, a video shows a drone attack on Era Tower, and footage filmed Saturday of the moment Bahrain's National Security Agency was struck by an Iranian missile. An explosion was seen, followed by large plumes of smoke. Bahrain said it shot down 45 missiles and 9 Iranian drones. In Kuwait, its international airport and a naval base were also under attack by Iranian missiles and drones. Tracy Furness, TVB News.
Amid escalating tensions in the Middle East, Iranian authorities have shut down the Strait of Hormuz, stoking fears of a surge in the cost of transportation among the business sector. This as Financial Secretary Paul Chan said the government has sufficient contingency plans to deal with the situation. Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps earlier announced a full-scale closure of the Strait of Hormuz, one of the world's most essential routes in the oil trade connecting the Persian Gulf with the Gulf of Oman. Hong Kong's import and export sector noted a few of the city's cargo ships passed through the strait, but expects shipping costs and insurance will experience an upward trajectory as a result of skyrocketing oil prices coupled with the effects of tariffs. This would affect the cost of items such as daily necessities and clothes imported from abroad. Peter Hui, the chairman of the Hong Kong Shippers Council, believes the rising costs could have a significant impact on more sensitive sectors, but stressed that any major surge in costs in the near future is unlikely, owing to February and March traditionally being low seasons for shipping. He added that with the mainland seeking to expand its Middle Eastern market via the Belt and Road Initiative, the continuation of the conflict does not benefit anyone in the business sector. This as Financial Secretary Paul Chan noted the Middle Eastern conflict has brought about many uncertainties and destabilized financial markets, and urged for the speeding up of cash flow. The FS further said Hong Kong is prepared for the volatility, and it's possible Hong Kong may serve as a safe haven for Middle Eastern capital, with many in the region seeking shelter for their assets. And still ahead, travelers stuck in Hong Kong as Middle East airports close. Hong Kong taxis get ready for electronic payment. Welcome back. Immigration authorities recorded 131 inquiries from Hong Kongers currently in the Middle East as of this morning. All of them are currently in safe conditions. As for flights traveling between Hong Kong and the Middle East, a total of 12 flights were canceled as of 5 p.m. Another 8 flights are canceled tomorrow. A near-complete halt of flights traveling between Hong Kong and the Middle East on Saturday. The airport authorities said a total of 5 flights were canceled on Saturday, while 1 was delayed. Cathay Pacific has arranged one-night stays at hotels for affected passengers and offered refunds or rearranged flights as another option. This passenger said his initial flight would travel from the city to the Saudi capital of Riyadh. But if flight plans get delayed, he might just travel to Guangzhou. While this man said he'll stay in the city for 2 to 3 days to monitor the situation, adding that it's not just Cathay that's affected by the ongoing conflict. Addressing concerns of Europe or Africa-bound flights traveling across Middle Eastern airspace, some travel agencies said the sector is currently assessing the situation. Some of the sector's representatives noted if Middle Eastern airlines remain suspended, they will prioritize the safety of travelers and seek out flight options that may have a longer duration. One agency announced it has canceled its group tour to the United Arab Emirates, set to take place later in the year. Several mainland airlines have also offered refunds or rearranged flights free of charge for passengers affected by the escalating conflict between Iran, Israel, and the U.S. Owing to rising tensions in the Middle East, Air China, China Eastern, and China Southern Airlines have all made adjustments to their Middle East-bound flights. Under the current arrangements, travelers who purchased tickets to Dubai, Abu Dhabi, or Riyadh between last Saturday and the 15th of this month are eligible for rearranged flights free of charge or refunds. The world has mixed reactions to the situation in Iran. In the wake of spiraling escalation of tensions, the Chinese envoy to the United Nations has called for an immediate stop of military actions, while leaders of Australia and Canada voiced support for the U.S.-Israeli strikes against Iran. Danny Zhou has more.
Fu Cong, China's permanent representative to the UN, addressed in the Security Council emergency meeting that military force is not the right way to resolve international disputes, saying it only intensifies hatred and conflicts. Fu expressed China's deep concerns over the situation in the Middle East and said its spillover is not in the interest of any party, stressing the necessity of dialogue and negotiations. The sovereignty, security, and territorial integrity of Iran and other regional countries should be respected, he urged. The UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres has expressed regrets that diplomacy squandered after the United States and Israel's forces conducted preemptive strikes on Iran on Saturday. He described the strikes and Iran's subsequent retaliation across the region as a grave threat to international peace and security. The UN chief pressed for an immediate cessation of hostilities and reiterated that there's no viable alternative to the peaceful settlement of international disputes, in full accordance with international law, including the UN Charter. In the Middle East, hundreds of Iraqis sided with Iran as they waved flags of Iran and Hezbollah during a protest in the streets of Baghdad on Saturday evening. Many held up posters depicting Iraq's top Shiite cleric, Grand Ayatollah Ali al-Sistani, late Iranian Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei, as well as former Iranian top general Qasem Soleimani, who was killed in a US drone strike in 2020. Elsewhere, members of the Iranian diaspora around the world praised the US and Israel's bombardment operation against the Iranian theocratic regime, as they sang pro-Shah chants in major cities such as London, Madrid, and Melbourne. Groups of Iranian Americans waving pre-Islamic revolution flags rallied in Los Angeles on Saturday and shouted their thanks to US President Donald Trump and Israeli leader Benjamin Netanyahu following the latest strikes. On the same day, hundreds of New Yorkers held protests in Times Square and then marched along streets to denounce the aggression. In a news conference earlier today, Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese showed support for the US and Israel on their attack on Iran and said Australia stands with the brave people of Iran in their struggle against an oppressive regime.
We support the United States acting to prevent Iran from obtaining a nuclear weapon and to prevent Iran from continuing to threaten international peace and security. We are concerned about regional escalation and urge the protection of civilians.
Meanwhile, Canada's Prime Minister Mark Carney, who is in Mumbai, also expressed his country's support for US military action in Iran.
Canada's position on the developments in the Middle East remains clear. The Islamic Republic of Iran is the principal source of instability and terror throughout the Middle East. It has one of the world's worst human rights records and must never be allowed to obtain or develop nuclear weapons. Canada stands with the Iranian people in their long and courageous struggle against this oppressive regime, and we reaffirm Israel's right to defend itself.
Danny Zhou, TVB News.
The next National 5-Year Plan has highlighted the unique advantages that Hong Kong possesses in connecting the mainland with the wider world. Sakura Ip has more.
This surgical robot is designed to assist in joint replacement surgeries. With its high-precision operation, it is now used in both public and private hospitals in Hong Kong to perform hip, knee, and unicompartmental ankle joint replacement. The smaller the incisions, the faster the patients recover. The robot was developed by Yuanhua Robotics, a mainland medical technology company that entered Hong Kong 3 years ago through the government's Office of Attracting Strategic Enterprises, also known as OASIS. The company's chairperson Meng Li said Hong Kong's international outlook is a major draw, citing its well-established legal framework and high-end talent pool. She also noted that the city serves as a gateway to overseas markets, especially in Southeast Asia and Europe. The city has also attracted international firms such as the British-Swedish pharmaceutical giant AstraZeneca. Having established a sales presence in Hong Kong since the 1990s, the company opened a global research and development center in the city in 2023, focusing on cell and gene therapies. The move was facilitated by OASIS. Susanna Tang, acting general manager and CFO of AstraZeneca Hong Kong and Macau, highlighted that Hong Kong offers mature practices, databases, and technologies for clinical trials, supporting drug entry into both the mainland and overseas markets. According to OASIS, more than 100 firms have set up in Hong Kong over the past 3 years, creating more than 22,000 high-end jobs and bringing in over 60 billion Hong Kong dollars in investment. Peter Yan, Director General of OASIS, said more international companies are eyeing the Asian market amid recent geopolitical shifts.
With more overseas companies, technology companies coming in, we will have more exchanges with the mainland technology companies so that they can find partners and also work together in further developing their products. Our already very strong research and development area is another thing that we can see more overseas talents coming in to strengthen that and help the mainland companies to develop their technology further, especially in going out in overseas markets.
Peter Yan also hoped that the enterprise introduced will help Hong Kong to develop policies in innovation and technology sectors. Sakura, TVB News.
Starting from April 1st, Hong Kong taxis must provide passengers with at least 2 electronic payment options as part of the requirement of a new ordinance. Mosinai reports.
Electronic payment in taxis have become a norm in many countries. In a month, Hong Kong taxi passengers will be able to enjoy such a service. From April 1st onward, local taxi drivers must offer customers at least 2 forms of electronic payment options, with one being QR code-based and one non-QR code-based. Speaking to the media on Sunday, the Transport Department said drivers could visit 3 government car parks in Sheung Wan, Kwai Fong and Tsuen Wan between 7 and April 4th, where help from electronic payment platform staff with account setup will be available. A taxi driver who pointed out that more customers prefer to use electronic payment over cash thinks the new measure will benefit service users and providers.
If we don't have the electronic payments, we can only take cash when a customer arrives, right? And we have to send them away. But now we just can take all the payments. It would be better. Just like a lot of other countries, they've been doing it for years, and now in Hong Kong we are catching up.
Choi also hopes the measure can improve public's impression of the taxi industry.
There's been a lot of bad comments done in the years, but now you can see we all have new taxis and new standards. And we believe that the taxi industry will just keep on improving.
Drivers who fail to comply with the new ordinance will face a maximum fine of $5,000 and a 6-month jail term. Memos 9, TVB News.
The Center for Health Protection on Sunday said it investigated a suspected norovirus outbreak on cruise ship MS Westerdam. The ship made a brief stop at Kai Tak Cruise Terminal during daytime today. On Friday evening, the CHP's Port Health Division received notification from a cruise operator saying some passengers and crew members were suspected of having contracted norovirus. The affected cruise ship arrived in Hong Kong at 4 a.m. on Sunday. A temporary medical station was set up at Kai Tak Cruise Terminal to provide health assessments for passengers. The CHP also requested the cruise operator to clean and disinfect the vessel after passengers disembarked. And that's the news. Thanks for watching.